Welcome back to Dirty 20. Today, we're going to be talking about character inspiration. Now, the most important thing about characters really is that they have to be setting appropriate. If you've got your heart set on playing a Pokemon trainer in a medieval fantasy setting, it's probably not going to work. Creating a character that is appropriate to the setting is by far the most important thing. But the question is, how do you get inspired? What kinds of things do you think of to come up with a really cool character that you're going to love playing for months, maybe even years? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. In D&D 5th edition, there's roughly about 11 base classes. You have the fighter, the bard, the barbarian, the ranger, the cleric, the monk. You have the druid, the rogue, the sorcerer, and the wizard. There are some other ones in some other books, but for the most part, that's kind of your base for it. They are great archetypes, and the wonderful thing about 5th edition and D&D in general is that you can really kind of adapt them to play the kind of character that you really, really want to play. Obviously, you have your kind of prototypical classes, you know, whether it's a Goliath barbarian or a dwarf cleric. But really, you have so much flexibility in terms of combinations and coming up with really, really cool things. For example, I got myself a mini with which had two kind of guns, and I was like, oh, I really want to play something like that. So I was able to kind of look at some different classes, and I found that the warlock had some really cool stuff that would allow you to kind of have wands or some sort of device that you're shooting your spells out of. And in that sense, you can really kind of, like I say, be flexible and adapt things to the kind of character that you want. Then you've also got the kind of base races. Elf, halfling, and human. Dragonborn, gnome. Half-elf, half-orc, tiefling, Goliath, and one of my personal favourites, the tabaxi, the cat person. Very cool, very mobile. So again, those kinds of different combinations, playing a tabaxi rogue, a cat person who's a thief, right? That kind of works really, really well together. So where do you get this inspiration for characters? It could be from anywhere. It could be your favorite comic book character. I'm a big fan of the X-Men, and so the idea of playing a kind of Nightcrawler character was so appealing to me. Wolverine as well. And in fact, I played a kind of Wolverine-style character because I got a mini that is kind of based on him. And he was a dwarf barbarian, which, that screams Wolverine, doesn't it? Overall, it's media that's really going to inspire you. Movies, TV shows, comic books, anything where you really fall in love with a character and think, I would love to play John Wick, maybe. Or wouldn't it be awesome to, play Frodo? I mean, that would be very easy, right? For me personally, one of my biggest inspirations are miniatures. I love painting miniatures and collecting miniatures, and I love getting a miniature and then thinking, what kind of character could I create? Like I mentioned before, I had a dwarf looked exactly like Wolverine, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna play that character. But it could be anything. I'm a big fan of Supernatural, the TV show, and playing the Winchester brothers, for example. Monster Hunters, right? Really, really cool. So if I find a miniature and I'm like, okay, that looks kind of like one of the characters that I love from my movies and my TV shows, I definitely always just build characters. And on my character generating app, I have about 30 different characters that I've never played, but, you know, I created and absolutely love. Here's an idea. If you have any kind of character that you would like to play from a movie or a comic book, put it down in the comments and we'll build it for you. And we can have a discussion about it and come up with the best build that you can then go and play in your home campaigns. And if it's an absolute smash hit, then we'll do a whole video on it. I'd also like to mention a particular YouTube channel that I really like. It's actually a series of videos called Building Character, which is fantastic. The person who makes them always does really funny stuff, and it's just a guide, right? Because he builds it from level 1 to level 20, and you know, you don't have to do it exactly like that, but it can give you a starting point, which I think sometimes can be a hard thing, you know, when you're, oh, what should I play? And you kind of get stuck. Great place to check out. So, you know, when you are building a character, often you will start a campaign at level 1, but not necessarily always. I tend to find that level 1 to 3 can be a little bit almost like a tutorial kind of levels, like in a video game. And level 3 really is kind of where you get your specialization or your subclass, which we will definitely do some videos in the future about. Yeah, so starting at level 1 and kind of building from there up to about the subclass is a great place to get started for your campaign. One of the important things is to be flexible, right? Because characters change over time. If you do decide to be inspired by Nightcrawler, as the campaign goes, your character's experiences are going to be different to the ones of the character from the comic books or the movies. So flexibility is really important. Inspiration is the key here. We're not trying to create these characters or recreate them in a D&D campaign. We're trying to be inspired by things and be able to kind of go on a journey and create the stories that we love creating together with a super interesting character that you have a fondness for. There are different approaches to playing characters. So some people are like actors. If you ever watch Critical Role, they'll put on the voices and they'll have the mannerisms, and that's fine. That it doesn't mean that if you don't do that, you're doing it wrong. Some people talk almost in the third person. Oh, he's going to go here and he's going to say this. But there's no real wrong answer. The key here is to have fun and to play into the stories and to really kind of enjoy playing the character. And also, don't be afraid that if you've created a character inspired by a character that you love from the media, and after a few sessions you're like, oh god, I don't know how to do this, or I'm not sure this is right. Don't worry. You can create a new character, talk to your DM, talk to the other players, tell them how you're feeling about it, and basically don't fret if you've created this character that you've wanted to play for years and it's not quite clicking. Another thing to remember is character death. Now, we'll probably do a whole video on this subject, but when it comes to characters dying, your character that you've invested so much time in creation and building up a background and all these kinds of things, don't worry, because you're going to be mad for a day or two, but then you're going to be really excited about the next character that you're going to create and the next character that you're going to be able to play at the table. So once again, don't worry if characters die. It's almost like a rite of passage to have one or more of your characters die within a campaign. So that's been our video on character inspiration. If you've enjoyed this, give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out our Facebook for La Victoria Productions. We also have an Instagram. I am Enano LVP on there. We have a LinkedIn profile as well if you want to check out some of the stuff we're doing on there. And we have the website, lavictoriaproductions.com. And hit us up on Twitter at MouthLaVictoria. Our producer will be more than happy to answer any questions for you. And, you know, tell us about your favorite characters. What was the inspiration for them? Did you tweak them a lot, or did you stay on track and really try to get that character from the screen or the comic book onto the table? Thank you so much, and keep slaying. And also check us out on Twitter. What is our Twitter? What's your Twitter?
@MouthLaVictoria.
Okay.